This is StoryRobot. Welcome to r/nuclear revenge. Our first story of today is, cheat on my friend and spend all her money. Get deported. So my friend, let's call her Coco, was really popular in high school, the type of girl that everyone wanted to be friends with and nobody wanted to cross. Coco was known to be promiscuous, but by senior year she seemed to have finally settled down and was in a stable relationship with a boy. Let's call him Edgar. Edgar immigrated from Ecuador as a child but was completely Americanized, and I don't even think he spoke Spanish that well from what I can remember. He was type of kid that was seen as kind of a bum to most at the school. He was nearing 20 and barely showed up to class, sometimes only to smoke behind the school and hang out with friends. I guess he was on some sort of program to get his diploma before he legally couldn't continue showing up. Regardless of this, he made my friend happy, so even if I didn't think he was Prince Charming, I tolerated him. Coco, on the other hand, was head over heels. She worked every day after school at the local grocery store, and with her hard-earned money she spoiled the hell out of him. A new Xbox, shoes, taking him out to eat, the whole 9 yards. She kissed the ground he walked on, and I was of course skeptical, but again, she was happy and it wasn't my business. Things seemed cool for a while, but when beep hit the fan it hit with ferocity. 5 months into their relationship he cheated on her. Not only did he cheat, but the girl he cheated with was freshly 14 years old and a freshman at the same high school. Keep in mind he's 19 and probably shouldn't even still be at the school. This 14-year-old girl wasn't exactly innocent. She'd had a reputation for a while for sleeping around with older men and looked around 17 to 18. Not to take away from the gravity of the situation, but to point out she was a very willing participant. I just feel it's needed context. News broke because this girl was bragging to all her friends about sleeping with Edgar, and I guess one of the friends told Coco. I was almost 100% sure that Coco was going to fight this girl. She, being 17 at the time, wouldn't have gotten into the trouble she would have being an adult. To my shock, however, that's not what she did. Coco was obviously devastated. The man she's adored for almost half a year, her first real boyfriend in the thousands she's spent trying to make him happy, definitely tore her to pieces inside. Instead of fighting the 14-year-old and trying to socially execute her, however, she played it smart. Here's where the nuclear revenge came in. This 14-year-old knew Edgar was with Coco and obviously feared Coco and the social power she had at the school. It was clear that she was scared to death of even showing her face once the news broke out, expecting to have to fight Coco or having to attempt to save her social life. What went down, however, was nothing like that. Coco messaged the girl on Instagram saying pretty much this: "Hey, I know what happened between you and Edgar, and I just want you to know I'm really sorry he took advantage of you like that. I think we should meet up and talk about it. I know it's not your fault." Coco didn't really believe this girl was preyed upon, and I'm sure she was even pissed at her, but it was important for her master plan that the girl took up the victim role. They end up meeting and Coco pretty much showers the girl in affirmation that she's a victim. Edgar is the evil Baphomet child of Satan, and that if she went to the police that Coco and our whole friend group would stand beside her and care for her. Long story short, the decision between social suicide and a fast pass to the popular group wasn't too hard for this girl to make, and she ended up going to her guidance counselor the same day. The guidance counselor listened to what happened and promptly calls police, who pull Edgar out of class and have him handcuffed outside in a public spectacle. When the ugly truth comes to light, it's worse than anyone could have imagined it. Not only did Edgar and this 14-year-old get it on, they did it in the school bathroom. His mugshot was plastered on the news and everyone was talking about it. After multiple hours of Coco gaslighting this girl and telling her all the right things to say to the police, he was charged. He ended up getting charged with statutory rape, on top of another charge because it was on school grounds. He got $50,000 bail, which he wasn't able to pay, and better yet, they were deporting him to Ecuador. The place where he had no remaining family, barely spoke the language, and that's only after he served his 5-year sentence in the United States. Throughout the entire trial, Coco pretty much coached the 14-year-old, telling her to say she was scared and felt pressured to do it, when in reality it was all on her own accord and nothing new to her. She complied with everything Coco said in order to save her social reputation. She even continued to brag about her sexual endeavors to us, but as long as it wasn't Edgar, we were happy to entertain it. We were young and dumb and living life like we were in an early 2000s teen movie. Looking back, I can tell the girl definitely had some issues with male attention. Regardless, for the rest of our senior year, Coco let the girl tag along with us and treated her really well. Even bringing her to senior prom in a loophole for the LGBT students. 3 years later, the girl is seemingly doing great. I see her on social media from time to time, and she's enrolled in college for the fall semester. Coco has a new boyfriend she's been living with for over a year now, and Edgar is still in prison awaiting his deportation. Looking back, I realize how messed up the whole situation was. The 14-year-old definitely had some problems in her life and Coco was definitely manipulative. Sometimes I even feel bad for Edgar, but at the end of the day, she was still 14, so even if she was totally down with it, it's still illegal. I don't think either side was exactly doing the right thing. It's not like Coco actually cared about the 14-year-old like she pretended she did. At least the girl had a nice time for the rest of high school. Coco just wanted to scorn Edgar, and scorn him she did. Our second and last story of today is, rapist has his car and life destroyed. The background: this story is about me, but I'm not the one who carried out any revenge. That honor belongs to a friend of mine. We'll call her Mary. I'm from a pretty rough area of a city known for its gangs and violence in the Midwest. You can take a guess where. So as you might expect, I didn't have very much growing up. Several years ago, when I was in high school, I made some not so great decisions, mostly dressing somewhat revealing and making myself popular with boys. I didn't exactly sleep around, but I was attractive enough and had a good amount of guys interested in me, especially the football players, because I was a cheerleader and present at most games. One in particular, we'll call him James, was a little more aggressive than some others about wanting to get into my pants. He was a linebacker, around 6 feet tall, and built like a brick wall, wide shoulders, tall upper body, muscular compared to me, a decently fit but not exactly strong 5'1" girl. The event: more than once, James had tried to get me to go out with him or stay at his place, but I wasn't interested. He really didn't like that and would frequently demean me, calling me a beep or a beep after being rejected. Eventually though, after a one game, he combined with some of my other friends convinced me to come to a party later that night with the other football guys. I'd never really partied before, so I didn't know what to expect. I got caught up in the moment and played drinking games with James and a few others. That was my mistake. After a few rounds, he convinced me to go to a room with him, and forced himself on me. Even after I told him to stop, he basically guilt-tripped me into staying quiet while he had his way. I don't remember the exact events super well, but I do know that afterwards I left the party crying and was driven home by Mary. The revenge: afterwards, I felt disgusted and ashamed of myself for letting myself get into that position. Luckily, I had friends to support me and help me get through it. I wanted nothing more than to forget it and move on, but a few others felt differently. After a few days of him bragging about sleeping with me, I thought he had people convinced that I had caved and decided to give him a chance. What I didn't know or remember, was that Mary had taken pictures of where I was bruised from him holding me down and recorded me talking about what had happened on the drive back. She had secretly been showing his friends the proof that I had been sexually assaulted and planning to destroy his life. A few weeks after the incident, James got jumped by several of the people first thought were his friends and had to be later rushed to the ER with a broken nose, a few broken ribs, a cracked hip, and several bruises after a game. At the same time, his car had its windshield smashed in and its tires slashed and spray painted pink. When he got out of the hospital, his parents disowned him and kicked him onto the streets after Mary proved to them he had assaulted me. The aftermath: James dropped out of school after getting kicked out of his house and, from what I know, slept in basements and spare rooms of friends that would take him in, which weren't many. He couldn't hold down a job and got fired from his last one, which I believe was a retail job, for harassing a female coworker. Last I heard, he was still job hunting and living in his grandparents' basement. Thank you for watching. Error. Problem detected. Not enough subscribers. Please subscribe, like and comment.